remember a few months after my dad bought us a PS1 while I was playing Siphon Filter, which was a perfectly fine game to play for a nearly 7-year-old boy. My dad came to my room and said that we have to talk. Being a good boy, I paused the game and waited for his lecture. Though it's quite hard to call it a lecture, he simply said to me in an intimidating tone, "You know that if you kill someone in real life, they will stay dead." I looked at him dumbfounded and said to him, paraphrasing of course, "Are you crazy? That's obvious." It was obvious, even if I had no direct experience with death. My family was quite small, so I hadn't really had a chance to attend any funeral. I didn't have any pets yet, and I didn't knew anybody who had lost theirs. My only experiences were movies and games, directed to the audience much older than me, and a bootleg Tamagotchi. I was a terrible owner, so maybe that's a good thing that my parents refused to get me a pet back then. And yet, I still understood death and its finality. So why was I so moved when my first Digimon, except the one I got when I played for the first time and turned it off after a few minutes, fade away? I went through all 5 stages of grief in a matter of like 2 minutes. Denial. What? It can't be happening. I did nothing wrong. I did everything correct. He still had 2 hearts left. Anger. This is stupid, and I wanted to give this game another chance. That's it, I quit. Bargaining. Maybe I made some mistakes. A couple of times I forgot to feed him, I overtrained him, I made him poop on the floor. If I had taken a better care of him, he would still be alive. Depression. It's my fault. I wasted so much time. But why bother if this is how it's going to end each and every time? Acceptance. Okay, if that's how the game works, then I'm going to be mindful of time and make most of each day. The death of that stupid, fictional red dinosaur that was constantly emptying my food supply was such an incredible and humbling moment for me that it seems funny. As far as I know, the game never tells you that your Digimon will die of old age. But you could figure that out if you ever had a virtual pet of your own, or wondered for a while how to get other Digimon. Each time your Digimon is reborn, he starts with the same amount of hours to live. The lifespan shortens if your Digimon is unhappy, and it takes effort to extend it. But at some point your Digimon will fade away anyway and you won't be able to do anything about it. Not counting glitches, of course. This is how the game was designed and the gameplay is balanced around it. The inevitability of death changes everything. You begin to cherish every hour and plan to make the most of your Digimon's life. This is definitely the most important mechanic of the game. Its backbone, the constantly ticking clock, becomes your worst enemy, the one you can't bring down, even at max stats. The sooner you accept this reality, the less stressful the game will be. Although the partner Digimon's death animation is always a bit startling, even if you're expecting it. And that's the only thing that frustrates me. I've seen a lot of people online who were really unhappy, to say the least, about having to let their Digimon go and start from scratch. It's a core mechanic. You pull it out and the whole game falls apart. I hate bringing other games because I feel that's lazy, but remember when the time limit was greatly extended and then even removed from the latest Dead Rising games? I remember that strict 3 days time limit made me learn the game and optimize my runs so I could get everything I wanted to get. Limited lifespan is integral to what Digimon World is. Of course, you can remove it with action replay, but will it still be the same game? Come on! A little bit of existential dread never hurt anybody. When your Digimon fades away, Digimon will offer you a choice of 4 eggs. Each of them hatches into a different baby Digimon with different starting parameters. Digimon have 5 life stages. Fresh, which will evolve into in training after 6 hours. Then, after 24 hours, it will become Rookie. Reaching champion stage takes 72 to 96 hours, depending on how fast you fulfill or don't the Digivolution requirements. Then, champion has the rest of his lifespan to meet the criteria of an ultimate, otherwise he'll just fade away. Each in-training Digimon can become one of 2 rookies, depending on which stats will you focus on. Rookie Digimon have a lot more options to evolve into, with champions being the most numerous group of obtainable Digimon, the proportion being 29 to 9 rookies. Digimon gives us an option to either choose a new name or keep it the same as its predecessors. I always pick the first option as I recognize each Digimon as its own being. Contrary to Digimon Rebirth in other media, in Digimon World, each newly hatched Digimon starts with clean memories, as happiness and discipline gets reset and can be of different species than its parent. We can go all philosophical about Buddhist concept of reincarnation and how it's simply the same soul inhabiting new bodies, as in, if I have no recollection of my previous life, am I still that person? But in the end, it's just an option to name your Digimon or not. Just do what you want. Baby Digimon, as in both fresh and in training forms, are not suitable for battling. While our new Digimon inherited all techniques of his predecessor, in his current form he can't equip any of them. If for whatever reason you get into a battle while your Digimon is still a baby, he'll use a pathetic bubble, dealing minuscule damage. Specialties of each baby Digimon correspond to those of their rookie forms. Interestingly, Bubble is always considered as an ice technique, so it probably does 1 or 2 extra damage to fire Digimon. They also have no finishers. What you're supposed to do with baby Digimon is, of course, going to the gym to raise its stats. First thing you'll probably notice is how little its stat gains are. Fresh and in training Digimon gets permanent minus 10% to all training, which hurts. But there's a big thing associated with training baby Digimon. Using a green gym training station 10 times by a fresh or in training Digimon upgrades it, giving a permanent 20% gains bonus to every Digimon using it. Those 10 training sessions don't need to be in a row, nor performed by one Digimon. You can spread it out over several generations of Digimon. I would suggest concentrating on the HP station, as training HP raises tiredness the most, and then either speed or offense. Sadly, you can't upgrade every station with your second Digimon. Or can you? There is an interesting programming mistake associated with Tanemon in training Digimon from Pink Egg.
Because of how Digivolving work and how they formulated conditions for Digivolving into Palmon and Betamon, if you keep Tanemon under 10 weight and constantly keep offense as its highest stat, it won't evolve, allowing you to train 10 times on each station. Baby Digimon sleep often, but those naps are pretty short, allowing you for more training than with older Digimon, as you don't need to worry about tiredness at all. After evolving into a rookie, that pesky minus 10% training debuff is gone, allowing for more efficient training, especially at those upgraded stations. You might have already noticed that some Digimon gain particular stats at lower or higher rates. Elecmon, for example, is more predisposed for attack and speed, while it will lag behind in MP and Brains department. Meanwhile, Agumon is balanced, with no strengths or weaknesses. Preferred parameters get additional 10% bonus, while disliked ones are reduced by the same amount. Rookies are not very good at fighting, but they can still do the job with enough help. Treat them as awkward teens of Digital World who need a push to become valuable adults. You certainly can take any of them for an adventure, just don't go too deep. Personally, I would wait with exploration till reaching champion level, as well-trained rookie will digivolve into a champion that actually can get things done. This is especially true with your second generation Digimon, who after reaching rookie form will definitely be much weaker than your starting Digimon was at that point. In Mangrove region, near the area leading to Amida Forest, there is a Betamon who doesn't need to be bashed through the head to remember about File City. Smell of the city that lingers on us is enough. Smell being the strongest memory awakener is true. Our olfactory bulbs connect directly with hippocampus, which is one of the key brain structures responsible for memory. Betamon supports Coelamon with running the makeshift shop, adding new items for you to buy. If you recruit Betamon before Coelamon, he'll build and run the shop instead. Recruiting the second shopkeeper adds various floppy, which cures status abnormalities, medium recovery floppy, which is 3 times as effective as small one for 5 times the cost, and most importantly, autopilot, which if eaten by your Digimon will instantly teleport you to File City. Entering the path through Mount Panorama, we're immediately rushed by an attack team of Goburimons, which luckily we can dodge. Getting to the crossroad, if you recruited Centaurmon and have at least once visited his clinic, you'll meet an injured Unimon here. Giving him any medicinal or recovery item will allow him to get up, but he'll still be unable to fly. Mentioning the clinic in the city will be enough to recruit him. Unimon is one of 4 proper shopkeepers, and as the first one recruited, he'll open a shop with much better inventory than Coelamon and Betamon. The proper item shop has the same stock as makeshift one, but also adds discs that buff either offense, defense or speed for a duration of 1 battle. They are not worth the price in my opinion. And portable potty, which can be godsend when exploring new grounds or visiting locations that have no toilets, as eating one will take care of Digimon's need for toilet. It doesn't raise discipline or happiness, but it still lowers the weight. Also, each shopkeeper has a specialty item that you can get only from them. In case of Unimon, it's Super Restore, which, while really expensive, fully restores your Digimon when he reaches 0 HP. With a fancy new item shop on the block, Betamon and Coelamon are out of their jobs. Betamon builds a fountain in the center of City Square where he chills, while Coelamon hangs out in the clinic. giving information to anyone who wants to listen. From here, you can choose going either to the left or the right. Taking right leads to Spore area, where you'll find 2 PCs with items and mysterious circles burned in the ground. Going further will lead you to the top of the mountain, which is the same place the left path would take you to, apart from the loudly stomping Digimon, who use muscle charge, battle technique that raises offense by an absurd amount each time it is used. There are 5 buffing techs, with only 3 being viable in my opinion, and muscle charge is one of those. There's nothing else to do here but to climb down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, your Digimon can use local restroom, or you can simply go further to reach Gear Savanna. There are also Flare Rizamon, who use Fire Tower, which is quite alright for a fire technique. With accuracy, speed and its stun, it's definitely better than Magma Bomb. Its power is a bit lacking though. Also, there's this oddly looking dead end. If you come here 3 days after talking with Drimogemon in Lava Cave, there will be an actual entrance leading there. Now that his work is finished, Drimogemon is finally ready to use his talents in the city, while we get an awesome shortcut from the drill tunnel entrance to the foot of Mount Panorama, and vice versa. If you're crazy enough, you can also reach Drimogemon through the original way through the tunnel, which is completely time inefficient. But hey, you can do it if you want. Actually, as a kid I thought that's the only way to recruit Drimogemon and unlock that shortcut. Drimogemon opens up Treasure Hunter shop inside the mountain wall behind the meat farm. Sadly, its name is more exciting than what it actually is. Basically, you choose either normal, which costs 1000 bits, or special, 5000 bits plan. Drimogemon goes off screen to dig for either 3 or 10 days, depending on chosen plan. Be sure to make a physical note to yourself about visiting Drimogemon back at the right time. If you come late, even by 1 day, your item will be gone, and you'll only have an option to send Drimogemon for another item hunt. He can find some rare and valuable items, as you may see on the screen right now. But to even have a small chance to get them, you need to go for quite expensive special course, and for now, money is really valuable. Also, I would wait till we recruit a helper for Drimogemon who increases rates for the best items a bit. The first screen of Gear Savanna gives us yet another choice. We can go directly to the north, where a large city made of metal looms in the distance, or go on a detour by taking the path to the east. If you have a Digimon who specializes in air techniques, it would be a really good idea to bother Shima Unimons here, as they use one of the best techniques in the game, Megalospark. It is fairly hard to block, it has quite quick charge up time, deals high damage, and it has 23% chance to stun the enemy. Learning Megalospark makes even the later fights much more manageable. Going north, there's a small side path to the left, which leads to a secret area where during the first 15 days of each year you can find 2 shops operated by those weird mix of Java from Star Wars and Digimon. The shop on the left is the more interesting of the 2 because it sells cards. You even get one for free, one that's very special, representing our protagonist. You can buy singles for their market value. There are 5 rarities. The most common cards are worth 50 bits, while the elusive very rare go for 5000. Or purchase a random 3-card pack for 500 bits. Collecting cards is pricey just like in real life, and they have no practical use other than completing the whole set for a medal. You can get some singles if you have nothing else to do with your money and want to actually collect them all. Booster packs are a scam, as you'll soon enough get a better way to randomly get cards. The second shop counter is a more of a traditional shop, with a twist. If your Digimon gets beaten in combat, after returning to Digimon's house, you'll quickly notice that some of your items that you had on you just got stolen. The more you had on you, the more it gets snatched. You can buy them back at their price. The recycle shop can really save your bacon if any of the key items get taken from you. Returning to the main path and continuing north, we reach the gates of the Metal City. They are sadly closed, and we can't do anything about it right now. There's also Ogremon trudging around, but before bothering him, I suggest dealing with Betamon in the area east from the Metal Gate. Betamon challenges us to a battle. And another one. And then another. You can decline going for another round after each win, but doing so, you will have to repeat the battle streak from scratch. After winning 3 consecutive rounds with Betamon, he'll throw a short fit, but eventually will join our cause. As a second shopkeeper, expanding the shop's inventory by adding large recovery floppies, medium MP floppies, which are more cost effective than using 3 MP floppies, and double floppies. His special item is Omni Floppy, which is double floppy with added status recovery for 500 more bits. After dealing with Betamon, we can go back to Ogremon, who'll zap us, dealing damage to our partner. Not knowing any better, we try again, with the same result, and then once more. Fulfilling the rule of 3 makes Ogremon impressed enough that he offers to supply electricity to the city. Which adds little floor lamps in the city square that light up when the night comes. Ogremon can't kill your partner with his electricity, as it will stop dealing damage when HP reaches 1. Heal up or use autopilot to not be an easy target. Taking a roundabout route, we reach seemingly inconspicuous screen. Apart from vending machine, it looks like there's nothing else to do other than progressing to the next screen. And that's true 99 times out of 100. There's 1% chance of the best item in the game spawning right about here. Chain Melon. Food item you normally get as a reward for winning a rematch with the final boss. It reduces tiredness by a whopping 50, satisfies hunger a lot, increases happiness and discipline, and most importantly, it extends lifespan by 20 hours. Speaking of lifespan, at the start of this part, I said that each Digimon is born with the same amount of lifespan, 360 hours, or 15 full days. Which can be shortened or extended. Contrary to popular belief, care mistakes don't cost you hours of your Digimon's lifespan, at least not directly. Remember what I said about happiness, that it's very important to keep it as high as possible. That's the real reason why. With the passing of every 4th hour of your Digimon's life, the game checks what's his actual happiness score, and depending on that value, it takes away additional hours from lifespan. If your Digimon's happiness is maxed out or close, there won't be any lifespan penalty. Meanwhile, if your Digimon is furious, it will lose additional 5 hours of its life. On the screen you can see all lifespan penalties and their ranges. Much later in the game you'll be able to buy, let's say, doping items that in exchange for 24 hours of lifespan give amazing stat gains. Evolving into Ultimate without the use of any Digivolution item adds 96 hours to your lifespan. Feeding Digimon a chain melon gives 20 hours. There's also a type of fish you can get by fishing in Dragon Eye Lake, Digi Bass. Even though eating one extends lifespan by only 3 hours, getting it will not drive you insane like constantly entering and exiting the chain melon screen. Treat those additional hours as an emergency extension. Going further, after getting to yet another crossroad, there will be Betamon chased by a Gaburimon. Hearing his screams for help, we're ready to intervene, but someone else throws in his 2 cents. The music changes. With a flying kick, Leomon scares off the aggressor, stealing our chance of doing a heroic deed. After his job is done, Leomon quickly runs off with Betamon chasing him. Seeing a potential recruit, we follow. At his camp, Leomon tells us that he has already heard about us. He can't join us yet, as he is searching for something left by his ancestor. He promises to come with us when we bring that something to him. Said item won't be available to us for a long time. Also, I wanted to say that I much prefer Leomon's design from Digimon World, as the others have really weird proportions. In Leomon's camp there are also additional training stations. Savanna Patrol, which is basically the same as running track at Green Gym, and Leomon's boxing bag, which mainly increases offense with HP as its secondary. Training facilities outside Green Gym are mostly underwhelming, especially those at Leomon's. The biggest problem with them is that they don't get upgraded the same way as those in Green Gym, and even if, at first, they may offer better gains, they quickly fall behind. Well, there is one that remains really good, but is quite inconvenient to get to. As we continue our journey through the Gear Savanna, we finally come to the vast plains where Betamon hangs out minding his business. Trying to talk to him will result in him running away. He'll be doing that every time we come near him. There are a few points where our protagonist will suggest waiting while partner Digimon will try to scare Betamon, so he'll run into us. This mini-game is completely random, and the place where we decide to wait seems to have no bigger effect on it. Sometimes you'll get it on the first try. In the next playthrough, it will take a few dozen of tries. Such is life. After catching him, he'll start to panic, thinking that we are famous Digimon kidnappers. Which, I mean, in some way is kind of true. After a while of convincing, he'll join the city as the 3rd shopkeeper. With his special item being Super Recovery Floppy, which fully restores HP for 2500 bits. It's completely not worth it. There won't be many situations where large recovery floppy won't suffice. Disappointing. What isn't disappointing is the fact that, with the recruitment of the 3rd shopkeeper, Item Shop gets card vending machine, where you can exchange 100 bits for a 1 random card. If you swim in cash and want to expand your collection, save the game at Digimon's house, then come to the Item Shop and pull till you drop. Having a turbo controller is mighty helpful. If we keep going northeast, we'll reach the end of Gear Savanna and get into Gecko Swamp, which for now we'll treat as a boring transition location between Gear Savanna and... Dating of Misty Trees is one of my favorite tracks from this game. It perfectly captures the feeling of how mysterious and treacherous this location is. Too bad that it's only a 45-second loop. Digimon World's soundtrack, for whatever reason, is considered as bad by the most of populace, which is something that I cannot comprehend. Of course, we have locations like Native Forest, Mount Panorama, or lava caves, that instead of music use ambient sounds. Sure, we have Drill Tunnel track, which can be grating, but for each ambient track there's at least one normal, and for many locations they've recorded second version more suited for the night time. Also, Digimon World's soundtrack has a consistent style to it. I'm not a music buff, so I can't really describe it accurately, but you can hear small similarities between different tracks. They just seem to belong. To be honest, the music of each Digimon World game has its own distinct style, and you can easily recognize which track is from which game. And yet, every soundtrack feels like a Digimon soundtrack. I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention the track that plays at night time in Gear Savanna. It is calm, relaxing, and yet also slightly sad, very nostalgic indeed. Makes you just want to stay here and watch the ocean. Me too, buddy. Me too. It saddens me greatly that pre-rendered backgrounds like those in Digimon World are now mostly a lost art. This sight, in tandem with the track, just hits so hard, and I can't really explain why. The enemies in Misty Trees are pretty powerful, so it's a good idea to try to avoid them at all costs. Though, as you'll see soon enough, it's easier said than done. Going north, we'll finally reach Cliffside, where another beautiful vista awaits us. There's also Gabumon hiding behind Petrified Tree on the left side. Talking to him initiates a battle, but at this stage of the game he should provide no challenge. We have a very awkwardly written talk, after which Gabumon joins the city. as Drimogemon assistant, increasing rates of finding rare items. If you are interested in treasure hunt shop, now you can use it to its full potential. Now is the part where misty trees get tricky. As the name implies, the forest is covered in mist. Well, actually it's more of a fog and characters refer it as such. It makes exploring really annoying as the game randomly takes you to different sections of the forest without any rhyme or reason. Sometimes even, after leaving the screen, you will find yourself at the beginning of the same screen you just left. It can be infuriating and make you question your sanity, but stay strong, it is possible. Digimon here, contrary to the boss fight with Gabumon, are pretty tough and can send you back to Fire City with one life less if you're not careful. Finally, we reach a new area where the fog concentration is particularly high. Here we also meet Cherrymon, who is the guardian of the forest and was waiting for us. He gives us a bit more information about the situation on the island. How it all began over 80 years ago when the island expanded on the northeastern front. Each day, Digimon would forget more and more about their past and history, becoming more feral. It even started to affect Cherrymon as he forgot some of the information he wanted to share with us. We, as the Chosen, have to unify the island and bring Digimon World to its former state. Cherrymon dispels the fog, thus removing the element of randomness when traveling misty trees. He also tells us that we can find more information about the past deeper in the forest. You can talk to Cherrymon to hear his story again or to increase your Digimon's brains. Cherrymon's tutoring works exactly like the classroom in Green Gym, so there's really nothing to talk about. Cherrymon's design in Digimon World is also really different from the every other instance where he showed up, which is sad as I think that this version is more charming than the creepy old tree guy we got in the anime and later games. But off we go to... Yeah, the music and the feeling of uneasiness caused by the overwhelming emptiness of this area really doesn't fit the cheery name, doesn't it? Toy Town consists of 3 buildings. Costume House, where the only thing of interest is a bear costume sitting in an armchair and emanating a powerful aura. Interacting with it will knock it down to the ground. The protagonist will notice that only a specific slimy Digimon would be able to fit inside. In the center, there is a toy mansion made of Lego bricks. The question mark door inside it is locked, and right now we have no way to open it. To the right, there is a sci-fi themed robot house where there are 3 Teenmon who don't want to talk to us at all. Doing the Toy Town side plot requires a very specific Digimon to complete it, so we can't do anything with it right now. With the mist gone, we can go east from the misty trees and eventually reach Friesland. But there are better areas for us to explore right now. It would be also a smart idea to go back to the city, train a little and resupply at the shop. After recruiting enough Digimon to reach 15 or more prosperity points, if we talk to Digimon and then leave the house, Greymon will appear, challenging us to the battle for the street sign. Protagonist is as confused as we are. Greymon will only appear if partner Digimon is champion or an ultimate, which is a blessing. Be sure to save before talking to Digimon, so you won't be doomed to take part in a fight that might be impossible to win. You can use autopilot to leave the house without Greymon showing up, but you'll need to do this every time till you defeat him. And Greymon is no pushover, with 4800 HP and over 600 offense. He uses Magma Bomb, which really hurts if you don't manage to interrupt him. Red Inferno, which has long charge up, is quite accurate, covers large area, and while it isn't the most powerful technique, with such high offense, it's still painful. Finally, there's well-known Dynamite Kick, which is really fast, but requires close range. Using techniques with short charge-up time while having high speed will negate most of Greymon's attack attempts. But healing is really important during this fight, especially since he can and will use his finishing technique if you don't defeat him quickly. Nova Blast can deal over 1500 HP, so keeping partner's health as close to max as possible is important.
Nice.
After his defeat, Greymon opens up Arena in the southeastern corner of File City Square and gives us another 2 prosperity points. Arena allows us to register partner Digimon to partake in many different tournaments. It's entirely optional, and if you want to collect every medal, you'll spend a lot of time taking part in cups and even more preparing for them. At first, only the most basic cups are available, but with recruiting Digimon to the city and battling random non-city Digimon, gradually new ones will unlock. Tournaments follow different set of rules than normal battles and require strong Digimon with high brains and good techniques. For now, I would rather suggest concentrating on rebuilding the city so that training will be as effective as it's possible. Arena will be explained in detail in the final chapter. Trust me, when I said we'll be spending a lot of time here, I really mean it. Tanemon, who is still chilling in a planter box, will mention a strange plant growing in tropical jungle. This conversation makes a little sprout appear in a small area enclosed by bushes. Investigating it opens up items window. There's only one item that has any effect on that sprout, and that's rain plant, the same that shows up near Tanemon each 15th day of the year. The rain will cause the plant to become Vegiemon. He'll ask a very important question, so answer honestly, as the answer doesn't really matter. Vegiemon joins you no matter what, adding another 2 points. In the city, Vegiemon brings the final upgrade to the meat farm, which now produces sirloins, a truly amazing food item that increases weight by 3, gives bonus happiness, and reduces tiredness by 5. If you need quick cash, you can exchange each one for 750 bits. But wait, there's more! If you talk to Vegiemon again after he gave you your daily rations, he'll offer you veggies for 500 bits each. Super Carrot and Hawk Radish both increase training gains by 20% for 6 hours. Super Carrot affects offense, brains and MP and reduces weight by 2. Meanwhile, Hawk Radish affects defense, speed and HP while adding 3 to weight. Feeding anything else while training food effect is active will negate it, but eating at the restaurant doesn't count as feeding your Digimon, so you can satisfy its hunger this way without negating training boost. Keeping the training boost active can be annoying, but that 20% is nothing to sneeze at. Also, here's a fun fact. While visiting Vegiemon at the meat farm for the first time, an in-game animation showing what has changed should play, but because of programming error, it can't without the use of cheating device. In the northwest part of tropical jungle, bordering with Great Canyon entrance, there's a little transitional area called Overdell. The only notable thing about it is a walled-off entrance leading to cemetery. There aren't many graves to pay your respects to, but walking around you may be accosted by a lone Betamon. Sadly, he is completely incomprehensible, and instead of laughing and politely nodding, we must answer him with either yes or no. Picking wrong answer will make Betamon sad and he'll disappear, forcing us to exit and enter the screen again. It's purely trial and error, as correct answers are always the same and there's no way to understand what the question really is. And no, having a Bakemon of your own doesn't make him translate it for you. It will translate Bakemon's dialogue in the city, but not the recruitment conversation. After 3 correct answers, Bakemon joins the city. Patrolling the square at night. There's also a fancy looking mansion, but if we approach it with a partner that isn't a virus Digimon, some mysterious dark power will force us away from the door. We'll respect it. For now, the entrance to Great Canyon is really unimpressive at the first sight. Though there's a really unnaturally shaped part of the cliffside. We heard a rumor from Ogremon about an invisible bridge that should be somewhere around here, so why not try it? Luckily, the rumor proves to be true instead of being a killer prank, and we're able to reach the proper part of Great Canyon. Should we try to cross the bridge without hearing about it beforehand, our protagonist will stay away, noting that it's dangerous to do so. Can we really blame him? Some people will say that Great Canyon is boring, but I beg to differ. While minimalistic, the backgrounds here are really well done and the ambient sounds really add up to the experience. It's incredible how much you can achieve with only using sounds of strong wind, a single howl and bird sounds. It is perfect for what basically is a series of giant rocks connected with each other. There's a lot to explore too, with its 3 levels of verticality and side paths. I always thought that the bottom level of Great Canyon hides a secret that nobody has yet uncovered and... Okay, let's get over with it. The doorway next to the only toilet of Great Canyon leads to a shop operated by Monochrome. It's quite different from any other shops in the game, as instead of making transactions with Monochrome, you have an option to run the shop for him. Times are tough and it's hard to make profit for the old shopkeep. I like how at first he wants to employ us for 12 hours, but as we talk with him, he haggled it down to 8 hours. And as you know already, 8 hours is a lot of potential exploration, battling or training. That's why I strongly suggest coming here when your Digimon is sleepy, to rest here and save, so when the things go south, and there is a high chance they will, you can load your save and try again. Monochrome shop is a good way to pass your time, but why would anyone want to skip time without making their Digimon stronger? Crazy talk, I know. Accepting Monochrome's offer makes us go behind the counter, and then, with the first customer at our door, the hell begins. Monochrome supplies the Great Canyon's residents with 3 items: meat, extremely low profits. Portable Potty, our biggest seller, gives solid profits that add up nicely. Medicine, true jackpot, essential for our success, and sadly the least commonly ordered item. Each client comes to the shop wanting to buy one of those 3 items. We can sell that item by its suggested market price, alternatively choose either to increase price up to 150% for a chance of fatter profit, or give a discount up to 30% to make sure that the customer won't leave the shop raging. After choosing the increased, standard or lowered price, a speech bubble shows up over the head of our potential customer, representing what they think about our offer. Sadly, we can't directly choose the percentage by which we want to increase or decrease the price. Each time we choose the option, the game picks it for us. Luckily, we can rethink our offer and try again until the game finally takes mercy on us and gives us the price we wanted all along. And then the customer rejects it and we have to do it again. There are 4 different Digimon types, each with different personality, needs and tolerance for our bullshit. Goburimon is actually the nicest of them, completely subverting our expectations. I like that characterization of a jobber who is a menace as a profession, but after hours is a bro. Everyone needs customers like Goburimon in their life.
You're my favorite customer.
Next are Gotsumon, who are the most common customers and are pretty fine blokes. They are quite understanding, but much less willing to part with their money. Upping the price by any more than 20% will get rejected with high probability. And now for the meme and the main source of why Monochrome shop is so infamous, Weedmon. Shows up as often as Goburimon, but is his complete opposite. A jerk with explosive temper, being able to reject even the standard price. Trying to squeeze him out of his money is a big no-no. I would even reduce the meat price just to be safe. Last thing you want is to make him angry over the profit of 10 bits. Finally, there's Muchomon, who is...
Hi, that's me. How much is it? Go, keep the change. Thanks a lot, bye.
Weird and random. Has an extremely short temper, can leave even if you offer him a biggest discount available, rejects standard price quite often, but there's about 50-50 chance that he'll just accept the biggest price. Muchomon is a blood pressure rising lottery, and if he doesn't ask for a meat, I would try to strike him with the 50% increase, because why not? Luckily, Muchomon is the rarest of your clientele. Each 8-hour shift consists of 20 customer visits, though each time a customer leaves without making a purchase, you'll lose additional customer out of this pool, because nobody wants to visit you. That's why it's important to try to minimize the amount of rage quitters. My strategy is large price increases for Goburimon and Muchomon, slight increase for Gotsumon, standard price for Weedmon, and always selling meats below the suggested price, because there's nothing worse than losing an additional customer because of 15 or 20 bits. There's a lot of RNG involved with tending the shop, so there's no need to worry about failing it a few times. Sometimes you just get a really bad seed that is impossible or nearly so to win. Once I got, I kid you not, only orders for portable potties, while the other time I was asked for 6 medicines. After reaching half time, Monochrome will make quick assessment of how well or unwell you're doing. The closer you are to 1500 profit, the better. Depending on your final profits, you'll get a different reward. If you get below 2000 bits profit, Monochrome will pay you 500 bits. Yes, even if you earn less than that. Breaching 2000 will get you 1500 bits. And finally, breaking 3072 bits will get you 2000 bits, and Monochrome will be so impressed with all our outstanding qualities that he'll abandon his shop and will join the city. It was just a test, bro. As much as I always feel relieved when I'm finished with the shopkeeping minigame, I have to say that it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Sure, it's completely RNG dependent, but it's serviceable. Not great, but a nice one-time change of pace. Big props for game designers for creating simple looking yet complicated risk management game. The track that plays during operating the shop fits it very well. It really has that elevator or mall music vibe. It's completely inoffensive, enjoyable even, for about 5 minutes. But if you have to hear it for prolonged amounts of time because you have missed that one crucial sale again, it will start taking a toll on your sanity, further letting you immerse yourself in the hell that retail workers have to relive each day. Monochrome joins the item shop as the final shopkeeper, adding 2 prosperity points. His specialty item is protection, which he sells for 1200 bits, and it's kind of great if situational. Using this item in battle protects your Digimon from status effects caused by enemy attacks, which can trivialize quite a few encounters. Getting the last shopkeeper also expands the standard inventory with large MP floppy, 5000 MP for 2000 bits, which is pretty value, and restore 4000 bits to revive your fallen Digimon, making it a get out of jail free card when you underestimate your opponent. Now that we have every item shop Digimon, it would be good to mention that each one of them has different working hours, which is important if you want to buy their specialty item. Shop is also programmed in such a way that if 5 shopkeepers were recruited, then you would be able to buy every specialty item no matter who is standing the counter. Sadly, there's no 5th one, so perhaps another programming mistake? Recruiting Monochrome leaves his shop permanently empty, dooming the citizens of the Great Canyon. While you can visit the place, you'll never be able to repeat the minigame, just like with Amida Forest. Not that it matters seeing how terrible bits to hour ratio is. After practicing ruthless capitalism, we're free to explore the rest of Great Canyon, and then we hit another fork. Going left, there's a crumbling cliff. Running on its surface doesn't seem like a good idea, which even our hero says aloud. There's also a warning sign before it, but hell, what wrong can happen? To be honest, not much happens. Dropping to the bottom level of the canyon doesn't even deal any damage to the partner Digimon, just some bruises on our butts. Fun fact, if your Digimon have wings, he'll float down, while protagonist falls. Hero gets pretty butthurt about how that's unfair. On the bottom level you can reach the elevator, which previously was blocked by a rock stuck in the mechanism. Removing it allows us to use it freely. We can go back to the level we were on before the fall, or reach the rooftop. Or you can go south instead and reach an entrance to some mean-looking fortress that is guarded by an Agumon. For now, there's nothing to do here other than bringing up some unfortunate memories. Hitting the rooftop button leads to a mix of clock tower and a nest. Investigating it causes Birdramon to come in and attack us without any warning. Birdramon is an interesting boss fight. He only has one attack, Prominence Beam, which is quite powerful if a little slow fire technique that can cause liquid crystallization. He can cause some serious problems if your speed is low and you use slow techniques such as Magma Bomb, which is slower than Prominence Beam. Trusty Spitfire should do the trick, allowing for constant interruption of Berdramon's attacks. Defeating him calms Berdramon down. He congratulates us and has no hard feelings about us visiting his nest uninvited. He mentions that we're probably the only human left on the island, hinting that there were others before us, which is kind of a big thing. He also sort of invites himself to the city and takes us with him. Birdramon opens Birdra Transport east from the Digimon's house, which functions as a fast travel system. There are 6 travel destinations for us to unlock by exploring the island that then we can pay Birdramon to take us to. It's really useful and saves a lot of time. It's important to note that we have to go back on our own, so it's always good to have an autopilot on hand. Birdramon did us a real favor by taking us back to the city, as Uramon has another juicy rumor for us. Apparently there's a gang of bandits who harass anyone who tries to pass through the Great Canyon. This rumor, for obvious reasons, unlocks only after crossing the invisible bridge for the first time. Returning back to the crossroads of the Great Canyon, choosing the right path, we get ambushed by Ogremon and his two Agumon lackeys. Poor Ogremon quickly realizes that we actually expected him and that he won't be able to bully us down. He doesn't give up though, and the fight commences. Ogremon is kind of a bad boss, as his most iconic attack, Tremor or Tremar in NTSC version, very often hits his underlings, dealing good damage to them. Other than that, he's pretty mid in a fight, and like a true bully, he quickly falls down when challenged. Ogremon, with a bruised ego, runs away swearing revenge. If you return to Yuramon, he'll mention that bandits have a hideout somewhere in the Great Canyon. We've already seen its entrance at the Great Canyon's bottom level. Agumon Guard will recognize us as the ones that kicked his butt before, and he'll run away. If you're playing version that isn't non-English PAL. That traumatic memory I've mentioned before is of the moment when I've had reached the fortress entrance playing German version of the game. My first legally obtained copy of the game was in German, which internet seller omitted to tell in the item description. At first I wasn't all that mad. I was actually kind of decent in German, as it was my secondary language in school. Aber ich bin nicht mehr so gut darin, weil ich es eine Weile nicht benutzt habe. But then, after beating Ogremon and trying to infiltrate Ogre Fortress, Agumon guarding the entrance wouldn't interact with me. I was pressing X like mad, but there was no use. Apparently, PAL translators botched something in that Agumon's dialect script, causing it to not work at all. And Ogremon's subplot is kind of a big deal actually, and not being able to complete it properly hampers ability to progress in the game a lot. There's a way to pass it when you defeated the final boss and you're able to do the post-game dungeon. But you have to reach that point first, and then it's only 1 out of 3 chance that the bonus dungeon will spawn in the correct place. And then you'll need to finagle your way through the map boundaries and do strange rituals with opening PlayStation's CD tray at a very precise moment. PAL player base got screwed pretty hard. I've been there and I know your pain, bros. It's really a shame, as infiltrating Ogre Fortress is a truly awesome experience. There are a lot of goons everywhere, background designers are showing their chops with that ragtag post-apocalyptic base aesthetic, while the music makes you feel like an unwanted intruder. And then you reach Ogremon's room, which is full of random, useless, but also really cool stuff. Fitting for stereotypical Japanese teenage gang leader, the only thing that's missing is a cool bike. Ogremon promises to not hold back this time, but in the end, this fight is really similar to the previous one. And so, Ogremon loses on his home turf. He makes a quick escape with the use of a smoke bomb and a hidden emergency elevator. We try to follow him, but he's already gone. Also, I love this Goburimon. He knows what's up. While trying to cross the bridge, a scream for help will stop us in our tracks. The elevator we've used caused the terrain to spontaneously rise and some poor Digimon got stuck. We must return, ride the elevator back to the fortress and go all around Great Canyon to meet with now untrapped Digimon. Autopiloting back and taking Berja transport is the best idea. Thanks to us riding down the elevator, Shelmon was able to get down to the ground. As a thanks, she joins the city. opening newspaper board at the square where she posts fancy rumors that help us recruit more Digimon. Great Canyon connects with Friesland, location I've mentioned already because we could also visit it from Misty trees. Now we can make a perfect circle around the island, going through Misty trees to Mount Panorama and ending in native forest. This way you can also clear entrance to Mount Panorama without doing the drill tunnel plotline, as blockade was programmed only on one side, and going from Mount Panorama to native forest sets rock slide flag as cleared. I wouldn't recommend that, as Great Canyon is more difficult than Mount Panorama, and also you can screw yourself out of the ability to recruit every Digimon, as one future event makes Meramon unattainable after it occurs. Digimon in Friesland are quite powerful and use variety of ice techs, including contender for the title of best technique in the game, Ice Statue. But we're here for only one reason. In the eastern section of Friesland, you can traverse on ice floes that are drifting on the ocean. After beating Ogremon for the second time, there will be Weedmon who's in a pickle. Namely, some mean guys kicked him out from his usual resting spot where he stored his prized possession. As it sounds weirdly familiar, we decide to hop on Weedmon's back and take care of them. We hear a familiar voice and yes, it's Ogremon. Again, this time he brought up Varusidramon, mercenary ultimate Digimon, to help him out. Also there's one Gabumon lucky instead of the usual two Agumons. Presence of Varusidramon may seem like a significant step up in difficulty, as he has a lot of HP and can hit for massive damage. But his most terrifying technique, Aurora Freeze, is really slow, can be interrupted, and you can get hit by other attackers, so the damage from it won't count. Also, Varusidramon, just like Ogremon, likes to hit his allies with area attacks, so it's really likely that he'll destroy both other attackers for you. All in all, this entire encounter is quite manageable. Ogremon and co. will try to run away, but Weedmon swiftly interrupts Ogremon's escape. Protagonist tries to force Ogremon to give up and he obliges. Not. Once again, Ogremon manages to get away, but hey, we helped Weedmon and now he joins the city. Weedmon operates a ferry next to the meat farm planters. He can take us for free to Secret Beach Cave again, or to an entirely new location of Factorial Town.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
But for now, let's take Drill Tunnel shortcut to Mount Pano... Apparently Ogremon is up to some shenanigans again. This time taking over Drill Tunnel and requiring a fee to pass through it. We do the same hero-villain shtick again. He has two Agumons with him, the same techniques and amount of HP as he had during the first encounter. This fight just shows how much stronger our Digimon got as we take Ogremon down in record time. This time though, he doesn't run away. Just sits down and ponders for a while. We have a talk, and even though Ogremon thinks that he's beyond any redemption, we beg to differ. Finally, we're able to bring some sense to the fierce gang leader, and after 4 encounters, he joins the city. I really like Ogremon's plotline. I really think it's the best piece of writing in the game. And while I know it's not saying much because, well, it's Digimon World, please, listen. Ogremon starts as a recurring, pitiful villain who we keep beating down without much effort. He always attacks having a numbers advantage, as if he wasn't really confident in his fighting abilities, compensating. We beat him even when he ambushes us, we humiliate him in front of his underlings by infiltrating his fortress and making him escape. Then we kick him out from his new base before he's able to rebuild his gang, even after he has paid an ultimate Digimon to be his bodyguard. Finally, we ruin his money exhaustion racket. Him running away for the first time kind of hypes his next encounter by building our expectations for a tougher boss battle. But Ogremon doesn't get any stronger. We beat him with ease again. The loss at the fortress ruins the illusion of Ogremon being a competent villain that could be a threat to us. He is a joke. Further encounters brings annoyance more than anything else. But I have to admit that the fake recruitment moment is really funny and clever. After losing for the 4th time, Ogremon has enough. He finally gives up, seeing that while we get stronger, he stays the same. He turned to banditry because the situation of the island was spiraling more and more into chaos. Why bother trying when it's all going to end soon? Why not have some fun instead? And while nihilism and existential dread are definitely not good excuse for all the bad things he has done, I feel for him. And then there's that line about how he thinks that he can't be forgiven for what he has done. Ogremon was never a truly evil guy. He was just misguided and afraid. So even if all he does after joining the city is patrolling, which is useless, the act of Ogremon seeing his mistakes and coming to the city to start anew is its own reward. And let's not forget that thanks to the chaos he caused, we were able to recruit Shellmon and Weedmon, opening more opportunities for Digimon recruitments. And all of that is unavailable in the European versions of the game. Thanks localization team. And that would be all for the overinterpretation of Ogremon. Note that Drill Tunnel Takeover changes the map in such a way that if you didn't recruit Meramon, you'll be unable to do so. It's a really unlikely scenario, but it's better to know.
Let's take a random break and discuss in detail the most memorable part of the game, Digivolution. During the course of Digimon's life cycle, if it doesn't prematurely die by losing all 3 lives in battle or because of sickness, it will go through 4 to 5 stages, with each subsequent one being more powerful and capable. Baby Digimon don't have to fulfill any requirements to become in training. They transform as soon as the 6th hour of their life has passed. As there are no stats requirements associated with the Digivolution from Baby Digimon to in training, there's no increase in stats. Digivolution resets care mistake counter to 0 and changes weight to a base value of Digimon that your partner has digivolved into. For example, even if Betamon is at 1 or 99 weight, when he becomes Coromon, his weight will be 10. In training, Digimon can naturally become one of 2 Digimon, depending on which stat is the highest at the moment, with HP and MP values being divided by 10 for the calculations. When the 24th hour had passed as an in training, it is programmed to strictly recognize only the highest stat, which is why Tanemon won't digivolve if offense is its highest stat, as neither Betamon nor Palmon require offense. Rookie to Champion is where it really starts to get fun, with how expansive each Rookie Digimon digivolving prospects are. As I said before, to digivolve into a Champion or Ultimate, 3 out of 4 conditions need to be met. We'll start with the one that looks simple, but there's actually more complicated formula attached to it: stats.
For example, for Agumon to digivolve into Centarumon, he only needs 100 or more brains, while Greymon requires 100 or over in brains, offense, defense and speed to count as fulfilled condition. If even one of those stats is under 100, it won't count. Stats are the deciding factor when you've managed to fulfill 3 or more Digivolution conditions for multiple Digivolutions. Agumon's Digivolution line is a great example. Meramon needs 100 offense, Berdramon 100 speed, Centarumon 100 brains, while Greymon requires stats needed for those 3 Digimon and also 100 defense. It is especially noticeable in the case of Centarumon, which weight, care mistake and bonus requirements are automatically fulfilled when you go for Greymon, and that's why you can get Centarumon by accident. In cases like this one, all is decided by a priority score, which the game calculates by adding all values of stats required for that Digivolution and then divided by the number of summed parameters. For example, Greymon has 4 stats that count, so the sum of all those stats divided by 4 will give his priority score. Centarumon only requires brains, so it will be brains value divided by 1. Also, HP and MP values count as divided by 10 for priority score calculations. Agumon with 120 in brains and 110 in every other stat will have priority score of 112 as it is rounded down for Greymon and 120 for Centarumon. Thus, Agumon will digivolve into Centarumon. Only not really, because that would be too easy to understand. You may have already noticed while looking at Digimon chart that possible Digivolutions are illustrated as a tree. The order on that list, from top to bottom, decides which evolution has the highest priority. Greymon has a priority score of 112. Then the game calculates the score for Meramon, who is next in line. Meramon only requires offense, which will result in 110 priority score. And with Berdramon everything gets messed up because carried over stats get into play. If the previously calculated score is smaller or equal to the current highest score, it will add both it and the total amount of counted stats to the equation. Case in point, Meramon's priority score was lower than Greymon's, so it will add its priority score of 110, same as offense, to the Berdamon's standard score of 110, its speed, as well as increasing the divisor to 2, because it includes Berdamon's speed and Meramon's offense, for the final score of 110. And then we have Centarumon with its 120 brains, adding Berdamon's priority score of 110 for the total of 230 and increasing the divisor by 2, because that was the divisor used when calculating Berdamon's priority score. 230 gets reduced to 76 because we're rounding down the decimals. 76 is less than 112, so in the end we get Greymon. But what if priority score reached the same score for multiple Digimon? Well, actually the game will give you Digimon that's highest on that list that you never raised before. For example, if priority score for Greymon and Centarumon is both 120, but you already have raised Greymon, you'll get Centarumon. Second is weight, which is much more straightforward. Each Digimon has its default weight, so to speak. To meet the criteria, your Digimon needs to be in range between 5 less and 5 more than the target's weight. When your Digimon is too light, you can feed him additional food when he's not hungry, but beware as it lowers both happiness and discipline. To lose weight, you can feed him weight-lowering food like super carrots, or just don't feed him at all. The second option is not recommended when you're going for a Digimon that requires a low care mistake count. Next are care mistakes. And back in a day there was a lot of uncertainty about what counts as a care mistake and what doesn't. In today's episode of Mistakes Were Made, I, your humble host, Hodyna, will give you a simple task. In just a few seconds you'll see a list of situations. Your objective is to pick ones that the game Digimon World 1 recognize as care mistakes. You'll have 10 seconds to make notes. Go! In reality, only 3 things add to this counter. Not feeding your Digimon when it's hungry, letting the hunger need bubble disappear, letting it poop on the floor, and not letting Digimon sleep at all by reaching its active hours. Getting your Digimon injured, sick, letting it die, or reaching very high level of tiredness doesn't count. Coincidentally, those 3 care mistakes are the same as in VPET. As I said, care mistakes get reset with each Digivolution, and getting a care mistake doesn't influence lifespan. There's also a weird programming quirk in which if you train or rest your Digimon while he's hungry and it will cause you to miss the hunger prompt, it will count as 2 care mistakes instead of 1. It doesn't seem to affect poop or sleep care mistakes. Also, if you skip feeding or going to the toilet by going to sleep, it also won't count as a care mistake, but even then, pooping will still raise the virus gauge. And if your Digimon gets to sleep hungry, something in its scripting breaks and he stops getting hungry, which can be problematic if a Digivolution requires a high weight. Feeding it something without a prompt should fix it. Finally, there's the bonus condition, which can help you getting your dream Digimon without getting one of the other requirements. If a Digimon doesn't have a bonus condition, you'll need to fulfill every other requirement. Bonus conditions include number of battles, happiness and discipline, current Digimon, and number of techniques learned. You only need to fulfill one bonus condition if a Digimon has 2 of them, like the number of techniques and high discipline for Greymon. For it to count to Digivolution, fulfilling 2 of them is as good as 1. And that's all for normal Digivolution. It's all about fulfilling at least 3 requirements and having priority score in mind. It all depends on the code calculations, and if you know what the requirements are, you can get every Digimon you want with 100% certainty, as long as you're able to fulfill those requirements, of course. There's nothing random about it, and it isn't as special as we all thought it was when we were younger. But then again, that's the part of life. Gaining understanding makes things that seemed magical mundane. There are a few really weird and absurd Digivolutions that break those rules. We'll talk about them soon enough. Crossing the Amida Forest again leads us to ancient Dino region, Digimon World's land before time. As soon as we take a few steps in, we're stopped by angry Tyrannomon. He refuses to listen to us, so we have to beat him down. Tyrannomon uses basic melee techniques. The worst he can do to you is a Megaton Punch. His stats are just a bit higher than Meramon's, so he'll go down pretty easily. After doing so, he apologizes to us, explaining that he's basically a guardian of this place and that he was just doing his job. We also hear that ancient Dino region is split into 2 parts, Glacial Time Zone and Speedy Time Zone. He then scurries away, leaving us on our own. True to its name, this place is full of ancient flora and fauna, and also rock monsters, glacial region, or if you're playing NTSC version, ancient Pal region. Is a place where time goes at the half of normal speed, which is really clever explanation to why everything here resembles prehistoric times. Going further leads us to an oasis of sorts, where we can talk to friendly Zaurian Digimons. Brachiomon repeats what we've already heard about the region and thus feels criminally underused, as he only appears here and on a trading card. He's one of the very few Digimon that doesn't appear in the arena, perhaps because of his proportions and model. Also, there's a second one in the distance, whom I've never noticed before. Still, it feels weird that they've made an entirely new Digimon with its own model and animation just to repeat common information. Saberdramon tells us about his travels in the sky, giving us a little taste of what's to come. First story is about Friesland, obviously. Second mentions a city made of iron that you can't get into. We've seen its gates in Mount Panorama already. In third, there are horned and clawed Digimon living in curved up trees. This location is so secretive that many standard players miss it completely. The forest with buildings is obviously Toy Town, hidden in misty trees. There's a quick mention of Great Canyon. And finally, the middle of the island, which cannot be seen, hidden in the clouds, which is quite interesting because it is said that Pile City is placed directly in the middle of the island. Monochrome here mentions his far more useful cousin, who we have already met and recruited. There's also another vending machine, which in return for 200 bits gives you a random item. I suggest trying it a few times, as it's the only place, not counting the Amida Forest trial, where one can get moldy meat. Moldy meat, for whatever reason translated as a steak when you get it from the machine, works like a giant meat, but with a caveat of always making your Digimon sick. Even if that sounds bad, there are few uses for this item. We reach Tyrannomon guarding the entrance to Speedy Time Zone. Even as we beg him, he won't join the city. Not when Dino region is in danger. Fittingly, the source of all problems here seems to be a big rock from the sky that hit ancient Speedy region. Tyrannomon doesn't protest much when we decide to check it out. Ancient Speedy region, or ancient NTSC region, is the complete opposite of the glacial region. Time here goes twice the normal speed, which means that your Digimon's needs will pop up more often, not to mention how quickly lifespan will go to waste. You really want to be done with Speedy region as quickly as it's possible, even if its visual theme really hits the spot, with bones and sterile rocks, which are the only things left because of the rapid passage of time. The presence of Saberdramon kind of ruins that feeling, sadly. If you go straight along the giant skeleton, you'll reach a dead-end screen where a lone Saberdramon resides. Solid beatdown makes him share a hint about a secret exit in the bone tunnel. I kid you not, I was stuck at this spot for a long time back in a day, when it's so incredibly simple. You just need to turn left near the end. From there, the road to the meteor crash site is simple. We investigate the rock and offend it at the same time. As it seems to be sentient, Meteormon panics when we accuse him of causing chaos, leading to another easy fight. He very infrequently can use powerful fire area technique, Meltdown. which otherwise can only be learned by training brains or by fighting powerful Digimon in the game's final dungeon. Would I wait with this fight till I have Digimon that can learn that tech, or would I reset the game if my Digimon doesn't learn it? Well, I did that many times with other techniques during this playthrough, and I really don't recommend it. You waste so much real time for so little gain. It is much better to simply try to get rare techniques that only bosses know through brains. Meteormon tells us about his tribe and then simply goes off to explore the island, resolving nothing. We report our findings to Tyrannomon when his master shows up, scolds him in front of us, and then dismisses him out of his post and orders to join the city. Tyrannomon is yet another cook at the restaurant and serves Jurassic-themed dishes. And that's all for Ancient Dino region. Bandai did well with aesthetics and theme, but the actual plot of this place feels really underwhelming. Oh well, at least I did that Glacial Pal and Speedy NTSC joke. To be honest, I played the PAL version for most of my life, and when I tried NTSC version for research purposes, I was, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit it, overwhelmed by the speed. I would never think that 20% speed increase would be something so game-changing. It hurts a bit that I've played an inferior version that whole time, and that I've choose it again to be the version for my main playthrough. PAL English is a bit less glitchy. It allows using one city amenity, which is bugged in the NTSC version, and the translation is more complete. But you waste nearly 20% more time on everything. Huge time savings make picking which version to play a no-brainer. It would be good to mention that you can dispel the mist before meeting with Cherrymon. Talking to Tsunomon, who resides in the city square, provides us with the information about a mischievous Digimon who will try to trick us at the Gecko Swamp. It's true, there's actually a bit more to Gecko Swamp than those two screens. On the second screen, the one with the toilet, you can meet with Otamamon, who busts out his best childish names to anger us. We can be the bigger man and ignore it. But the correct way is actually to beat the kid up to teach him a lesson. The chance for Otamamon to appear is random, so it may take a few enter-leave-enter sessions. After defeating him, Otamamon will scream for help and an army of Geckomon will forcibly take us to their boss. Shogun Geckomon, the chief of Geckomon tribe and the owner of Volume Villa, doesn't really seem to care that we just beat his youngest subordinate. Actually, he's grateful for what we are doing and he wants to help us. He'll tell us about Cherrymon and the fog, which if we hadn't met him already, he'll clear out for us, thus allowing for stress-free exploration from the get-go. Clearing the fog before the audience with Shogun Geckomon will impress him enough to reward us with digital sea bass, a fish that extends lifespan by 3 hours if fed, which is a pretty nice reward. Before leaving the Volume Villa, you can talk to Geckomon. One of them will tell us about Shogun's new hobby, card collecting. Also, in NTSC version, this dialogue cuts off for whatever reason. Talking to Shogun Geckomon again will allow you to trade in your cards for merit points. Depending on the card's rarity, you'll get from 1 to 100 points for it. I would advise to visit Shogun Geckomon once in a while after intensive card pulling sessions, as the rewards you can get are quite alright. While you can get super recovery floppies and super restores at the shop, you can exchange merit points for stat raising chips, albeit at horrendous prices, Digivolution items for Airdramon, Seedramon, Shellmon, Coelamon and Frigimon, and most importantly, the amazing rod, the best fishing rod in the game, which I would prioritize when it comes to spending points. But be sure to get amazing rod after you get an old rod, as the game overwrites the rod you got first with the one you found last. And you can't get another amazing rod, which forces you to either start the game from scratch or permanently deal with trickier fishing. If you have built the arena in Fire City by defeating Greymon, talking with Gekomon near the Volume Villa's exit will make him join the arena to represent his people. I've never seen him appear there, and trust me, I've battled a lot in the arena. Talking to Shogun Gekomon after visiting Toy Town prompts him to practically spell out how to progress through that side plot. Which brings us to